So
Yeah, well, he said it's a lengthy bill, but expect some lawsuits and it may be in limbo for a while.
yeah, yep, yeah. It's just it's. I was just, I wasn't complaining, but I was just saying to a colleague the other day, after a pandemic and a contentious election season, I'm not really all that excited to become the front line in another culture
No,
war here. You
I
know what I
know,
mean?
I know, I know. Well, it doesn't relieve the medical community from providing exemptions for children that clearly shouldn't have them. But I know it's complicated, and it was a nasty, contentious bill. I'm surprised that it passed, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I will tell you, I've had two parents reach out to me already, upset, wanting to know if they're grandfathered, and
It looks like
said,
the
I said,
grandfather, yeah. It looks like
I said, I just don't know.
April 28th, 2021 is the deadline for, but I guess the clarification that I really maybe need to go back to Cabe about is whether or not, if a child is just registering for kindergarten, if that pushes them out to 2022. So we'll have to see.
Right.
Yep. More to come, I'm sure.
I
And
mean,
Patrice McCarthy was in on that, so
oh,
she knows the legal aspect of it as well.
yeah,
Hi, Sharon.
yeah. Hi, Sharon. Oh, great, thank you. Sharon, did you get my text about tweaking the agenda to get the students off to do their homework?
Sounds like a good
Yes, I
plan.
did. Yep. I was wondering,
Yeah,
could you
good.
step out just for a second, Charles, and give me a quick call?
Sure.
I just wanted to talk to you for a couple seconds.
Mute yourself, Sharon. Put
I don't
yourself
think I
on mute.
can.
You
wonder if
should
I
be
can.
able to. Down at the bottom. You did. Okay. Annual meeting. Correct annual meeting on May the 21st. No news. Policy working on dates. Topics will be Zoom meetings. Policies, billing and grounds meeting on May 20th. Facilities meeting on May 12th. Nice article about Chris Sarah. Glad he's back and recovered from, almost recovered from COVID.
Okay, I'm back.
Good. All right.
I
Nancy,
have to
I saw
say,
Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
The more I do this stuff, the more I'm loving my stand-up desk.
Oh, yeah. I know I have to go up and down. My desk is high enough and I'm up high enough that my legs don't fall asleep,
Mhm.
which is good.
I just like to turn my camera off when I decide I'm going to stand up or sit down because when people are moving and they're on camera, I get like motion sickness or something. I don't know. It just really
Yeah,
bothers
no, I
me.
hear you. Yep, I hear you.
So I try to do that.
Let's see who's here. I see Tim. I see Dave. Hi, Dave.
Oh,
Hello. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim. He's not, is he on? He was here
Yeah.
a minute. Oh, yeah, there you are.
He's muted still.
Now I'm on.
There you are.
Hi, Tim. How are
You
you?
guys like me muted though, right?
We like you
yes,
muted? No,
absolutely.
not at all. Who said that?
I was just
He
making
did.
that up.
I disagree.
No, we love your comments.
That's why we're here.
Yep,
How's everybody doing?
we're good. Waiting for warm weather again.
Yeah, I know. This has been, well, I
It's
guess we
cold
need
out
rain.
there.
Yeah, I guess we need the rain though, so it's good.
It was a good day to pull weeds, that's for sure, in my garden. See Stephanie.
I feel like I went from a year last year where all there was to do was work in the yard, and the yard never looked so good because we couldn't go anywhere, to this year where the yard is a disaster. It's like in 1 year, it just goes downhill. So I gotta get out
Agreed.
there this weekend and pull some weeds.
It never ends, that's for sure.
Well, I had 3 cubic yards of mulch, which was more than I needed. And I think I finally spread the last of it just before the snow came, and never again. But it does keep the weeds down, that's for sure. Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Christopher.
Another light in, maybe.
And I see Laurel.
Somebody's
See,
playing
wow.
basketball, it sounds like.
Oh, there's Laurel. Hi, Laurel.
Hi, Laurel.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Hello.
Good. All right, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of
Flag
the United States of America,
America.
And to the
To
Republic
the republic
which
which
stands
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under
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 God,
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 indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
all.
All right. Before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, I want to make a slight adjustment and move what's now listed as 7A2, Portland High School student recognition. I'd like to move that item and make it item 6A under student representative reports.
Okay.
I'll make that motion or that adjustment. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
second.
Yes. Laurel seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Tim, is there a second?
I'll second. Meg Scatta.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Sharon, there was just one little note under the superintendent's report in our meeting minutes. It said daily sanitizing of the, and then there's a word missing. I think it meant desks. I don't know if we want to bother adding that in to clarify that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Audience of citizens.
There are none at this time.
Thank you. All right. We are down to student representative reports. Who'd like to go first?
I can start.
Oh, Sean, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So,
Hey, Sean.
Aye.
Winter Sports Awards were held a few weeks ago, and we were able to have them in person, which was great. It was a wonderful night, and it gave a pretty hopeful outlook for holding more in-person events for the rest of the year. And then, second, we were happily informed recently that we're able to hold a joint junior and senior prom at Wadsworth Mansion on Sunday, June 6th. And the class advisors have worked really hard to make this possible for us. And we really couldn't be more excited.
That's great.
Great. Good news.
Things are starting to get back to normal. That's wonderful.
That's a
All right.
beautiful spot, by the way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
On my end for our rep report, well, first off, good evening, everybody. I'm glad you can hear me okay after last time. But for my end of things, some of you know, Friday, May 1st, was it Friday, May 1st? Saturday, 1st, I believe. Whatever May 1st was a college decision day for many of our high school seniors. So that Friday before and the Monday following, this Monday, the Portland High School asked seniors to wear a shirt or a t-shirt or whatever they had representing their post-grad plans. So we saw plenty of colleges and universities represented, some trades like plumbing and the electricians union, and even some military, some students pursuing a military career past high school were all got to share their pride and their plans. And it was really nice to kind of see everybody all at once and guess at what they could accomplish in the very near future. Also this week, Student Senate is working hard to appreciate our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. The Senate has organized an entire week full of gratefulness and gratitude in the form of gifts and snacks and candy to our teachers, as well as an ice cream emergency that we brought in last Friday to kick off the week.
Nice.
So I've been hearing about that and, ice cream. So hopefully the teachers are taking this week to feel appreciated because we really do appreciate all the work they're doing for us. And finally, this May, AP exams for juniors and seniors will be starting pretty soon. I think that in Portland, they start in the second or third week of May. So they're coming up pretty fast. So we're buckling down and studying for those, and we wish everybody taking them lots of luck.
Great. Okay, and now we're going to hear from Dr. Britton about some high school student recognition.
Oh, I'm excited about this. So could I ask Hannah and Maya and Kate Lawson, could you guys unmute yourself and turn on your cameras? We'd love to see you. I'm looking forward to presenting you. There's Hannah. There's Kate. Maya, can you turn on your camera for us? There you are. Hi. So I am really excited to introduce a couple of outstanding students from Portland High School for you. So we put together a press release for tonight, and I'm just going to read it into the record for you. And then I want to give also Ms. Lawson and the students who are about to receive your recognition tonight the opportunity to just say hi and answer any questions that you might have for them. So Hannah Brunk and Mia Quisnell, students at Portland High School, were recently recognized by the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education with the Student Leadership Award. Students are nominated to receive this award by their school principal. The awards program, presented annually by CABE, is designed to honor students who exhibit exemplary leadership skills, a willingness to take on challenges and commit to a project, the capability to make difficult decisions, the ability to work with others, understand issues clearly, honor a commitment, and exhibit diplomacy and a concern for others. So our first recipient I want to talk to you a little bit about tonight is Hannah Brunk. Hannah, give a wave. There you are. We see your name there. So Hannah Brunk has certainly made an outstanding contribution to Portland High School and the Portland community. Her teachers describe her as an eager learner, motivated and goal-oriented person who thrives academically in the classroom. Her kind and supportive disposition makes her a role model among her peers. She's viewed as a person with impeccable character and a strong moral compass who is willing to support others and put their needs before her own. Outside of the classroom, Hannah participates in a wide range of athletics and extracurricular activities. She is the captain of the varsity girls basketball team, a member of the girls soccer team, and also participates on the golf team. Hannah is also musically talented and is a member of the a cappella choral group. She is a natural-born leader who has a kind and supportive disposition, which she puts to work by volunteering through the Portland community. Hannah will undoubtedly be successful with all of her future endeavors. She is a beautiful person inside and out and is well-deserving of this special award. Hannah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Lawson, do you want to say a few things?
I'll wait till the end.
Oh, okay. So not to be outdone, I am very pleased to introduce Mia Quisnell. So Mia Quisnell's cheerful and outgoing personality makes her a pleasure to have in class. She is a true leader when working on group assignments, and her academic record is quite impressive. Mia often participates in class discussions and offers complex ideas and thoughts to correlate with what students are learning in class and in the real world. She is an extremely hard worker who has earned high honor roll status. As an athlete, Maya has participated as a member of the varsity soccer team. She is also a sophomore class vice president and a member of the Class Act and Student Senate. Maya is a true leader and spends countless hours giving back to the community by volunteering for the town of Portland at local area businesses. She is also quick to lend a hand to her teachers at Portland High School. Maya's enthusiasm and kindness extend well beyond the classroom. She is a very caring person who represents the CABE Student Leadership Award very well. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Kate, you're beaming. Do you want to say a few words?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Dr. Britton, for your kind words. These two young ladies certainly represent all that we value at PHS. Mia and Hannah, you are the role models I want at our school. Your example, your energy, and your positive outlook brings out the best in others. Keep being you, and remember this moment of honor. It's just the beginning of great things to come. We are very lucky to have you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lawson and Dr. Britton.
Thank you.
Very proud of you girls.
Thank you so much.
You both.
That's great.
And congratulations to your families too. Does anybody on the board have any questions or?
What are your plans for next year?
Yeah.
Well, they're only, we get to keep them. They're only sophomores and juniors.
Oh,
I'm a
Okay.
junior, so I'll be back. My senior year will be next year.
awesome. Anybody else have any questions?
Just when do they sleep? They sound like they're very, very busy. But keep up the good work. We're really proud of you. And it's good
Yep.
to acknowledge it at a Board of Ed meeting so that we can show the community we are learning and we are moving forward. It's really important. So thank you, girls. Keep up the good work. We'll look forward to more good things coming.
Thank you. And thanks for letting us come tonight too, for the
Yeah.
rest of the board.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We can let you go. I'm sure you guys have plenty of homework to do. So we were able to move you up in the agenda so you could head off that. And like Scott said, maybe get some sleep too. Sure. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that is hard to come by.
Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on with the rest of communication and updates, the rest of the superintendent's report.
Okay. So few things I want to just go over with you. All of these are posted in your Google Drive under my communications, but we did receive a letter of resignation from Katie Picard. We wish her well. I got to know Katie well when I was filling in for Scott at the middle school last year. She is an incredible loss. She did a great job for us, and she has a beautiful family, and I wish Katie well. So I did include her letter of resignation in your with your agenda. The second thing I included with my communications is a memo that we received from the state on April 8th. The state has developed and published some things called some evidence-based practice guides. So Eric and I took a look at these. They're pretty good. You know, I figured I would share them with you. Eric's going to talk a little bit more about these in his report, but these practice guides are certainly something I can see us using the rest of this spring, over the summer, and in the years to come as we continue to reflect on all of the things we're doing here in Portland and identify areas for improvement. So I did include that memo for you. If you have a chance and you just Google Connecticut State Department of Education evidence-based practice guides, you can see all of them. There are a number of them, and they cover a bunch of different areas, from mathematics to English language arts to social and emotional support. They're really pretty good. I'm impressed with them. I think the state did a nice job with them, and I wanted to share them with you. The second thing I have in here, a memo we received from the state on April 8th informing us that the waiver that was submitted to the Federal Department of Education, and we know the commissioner there well, was granted. And that means that this year's Smarter Balanced assessment results and SAT assessment results will not be used to categorize any schools in the state. So that seems only fair to me. As you know, last year we didn't administer the Smarter Balance or the SAT. This year we are administering the Smarter Balance this week, as a matter of fact, in some of our grade levels. And Kate did administer the SAT recently at the high school. We will get the results of those tests and look at them carefully, but the state will not be using those as part of the next generation assessment system that they use to categorize schools. So I didn't include that update in your board packet. And again, I agree with the decision. I think it's only fair after the very difficult, really 2 years that we've had.
Great.
Charles, can you answer a
The
question
next
for me?
communication we received,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll stop. Any questions on any of those things so far?
I just have one question. They indicate that they're not going to be using certain topics 1 through 5. Is that the categorizing of SPED and free and reduced lunches and the first 5 things that we report to as part of the school profile? Or is that something different?
Right. So schools based on a number of metrics,
Okay.
Growth percentages on the Smarter Balanced, performance on the Smarter Balanced, dropout rates, percentage of students on track to graduation.
Right.
There are a whole bunch of different metrics that we get points from. The total calculation of those points puts you in one of 5 categories as a school, right? And category 4 and 5 being the focus schools and the turnaround schools. So
Okay.
that's what the 1 through 5 is
Okay.
what you're categorized as based on the composite of all of the indicators.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the formula or if they were just not getting data on other items of information. All right. Thank you. Thanks. That clarifies that.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
and by the way, that's a good question. They are collecting all of their other, they're still collecting the data through the PSIS and students who are on track to graduate, and they're regularly collecting our data as they would in
Okay.
a normal year, including attendance data and others. It's just this year we won't get a category. We
Okay.
won't be told we're a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 school
Okay.
or district.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next communication that we received on April 27th from the state, which did make news for sure. I'll just read the highlight of it. Is the Connecticut State Department of Public Health, DPH, and the Connecticut State Department of Education do not anticipate the need to mandate, due to public health necessity, continued voluntary remote learning options next year. So as you know, right now, currently, we have 154 students who are still in our Portland Virtual Learning Academy. That number is down from a high of about 220 earlier in the year. Based on this, the option of remote learning is not something that we're going to be compelled by the state to offer next year. So that likely means that the PVLA will close at the end of this year. Now, I am very aware of conversations that are happening in the state with, there are sort of two carve-out groups that we want to be mindful of. And I don't have any answers to these yet, but certainly we'll keep you posted on them. As we know, there is not yet an approved childhood vaccine, right? I heard today that one of the, I think it was Moderna, may have been Pfizer, I can't remember who, one of the manufacturers is seeking emergency authorization for children as young as 12. But I haven't heard about emergency authorizations or gotten a sense of where the vaccines are in terms of children from ages 5 to 12 or younger, right? We just don't know when those are going to come online. So in the district, we do have medically fragile students, right? And I could certainly foresee a situation where parents would be concerned about sending a medically fragile student for whom COVID could be a very serious thing. I mean, not that it's not serious, but for certain immunocompromised individuals, it's way more dangerous, that those individuals might not be comfortable sending students back to school. In those cases, we'll counsel those families to seek 504 accommodations. So Dawn and I will work with those families and the principals, and certainly we can make accommodations through either the 504 plan process or the IEP PPT process to come up with reasonable accommodations for those families if children are medically fragile and at risk for COVID, especially if there's not a COVID vaccine for children that's approved come next year. So that's one group of students who we're very aware of, and we will work proactively to make sure that they're aware of what accommodations and modifications we can make either through 504 plans or IEPs. I do have in mind a second group of students who I'm mindful of, and I don't have all of the answers yet, but except to say I'm mindful of. And that's a group of students who may be healthy themselves, but may have very medically fragile siblings or parents in the home, right? So I know of some situations where families have chosen the PVLA because children are going home to parents or siblings who are battling any number of ailments that put them in a very high risk level, right? Now, that's a little bit more complicated because we don't write 504 plans for students if their parents or siblings are medically fragile. However, I want you to know that certainly we will work with those families, right? So where I think we're headed is that the PVLA is going to close next year, and we'll be very excited to welcome most of these 154 students who are still in the PVLA back for in-person learning. In-person learning, to be clear, is the preferred model, and we need to get our students back in the classroom as quickly as we can. For those students who are medically fragile, we have the 504 or PPT route to come up with reasonable accommodations and modifications, which might include some online opportunities. And I'm going to be reaching out and communicating with any families where there is an ailing or medically fragile sibling or somebody in the household that we might want to make those considerations. And I think that that's the fair and reasonable way to go with this. So I'll stop and see if there are any questions.
Do you have a sense of how many students this will affect? I know you don't know the exact numbers, but ballpark figure?
I don't, to be honest with you. That's something the principals, Dawn and I will start working on this spring, and we'll proactively reach out to families and have lots of conversations as we head into the spring and the summer. I don't have an exact number off the top of my head, though.
I think that's the great direction to go in. I think that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that we'll be working to accommodate or to work with families who are, more vulnerable in the coming school year, even though that won't be a state mandate. And I'm definitely going to be interested to hear how you envision that as we move forward.
We're going to be very compassionate and humane and do it the right way. And there may be small groups of students for whom remote is an option, and I will certainly work with our teachers and administrators to come up with reasonable accommodations. Okay, so that's all for my communications. Let me jump to the school reopening update. So I'll
Charles,
start with
before
the very good news. Oh, sorry. Yep.
I just wanted to point out, I know it's not in your report, but the communication and updates. I just happened to see a post on Facebook referencing an article in the Middletown Press, I believe today, regarding Chris Sarah and his new position with the schools beginning next school year.
It
I
was,
just wanted to comment on how positive and upbeat and the article was about our plan for him next year and his accepting it, and really looking forward to the change in his position. And I appreciated that, and just wanted to mention if other members of the board hadn't seen the article, to take a look at it.
I did see the article, and I was glad. I was going to comment it during board comments, but I'm glad to see that he's returned to school and he's feeling
Yes.
90% better. He was in a scary place with COVID, and glad that he's back. And yeah, the article was very, very good, very positive. Good picture of him too.
Yep. Sorry, Charles.
I thought it was a good article too.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me move us, unless there's any other comments, to our school reopening update. I'll start with the very pleasantly surprising and even shocking to a little bit news that since we've returned from April vacation, I am not aware of a single case of COVID in our schools, which is, I was worried that after the April vacation, people would be returning from holidays and vacations, and that we might see a little uptick. Since we've returned, none, which is remarkable. And I think that that's a tribute again to everybody in our community continuing to do the right thing, and thank you for that, everybody. So the latest numbers that I received from Russ Melmud have Portland still classified as an orange alert district with a case rate of 12 per 100,000. That compares with other towns in our Chatham Health District who are at, let's see, Colchester's at 14.8, East Hatham's at 15.9, East Hampton 12.8, Hebron 14.3, Marlborough is at 13.5, and overall the Chatham Health District is at 14.3. So the numbers are again dropping. Middlesex County is at 16.3 per 100,000. Hartford is at 19 per 100,000, and Connecticut is at 22 cases per 100,000. Again, those would all be heading in the right direction. So the numbers are looking good in the Chatham Health District, and we have not had any cases in our schools in the past 2 weeks. I'm knocking on wood right now. We're heading clearly in the right direction. That said, we are still adhering to all of our mitigation strategies. We haven't changed our posture at all. We are still masking and social distancing and all of the measures that we need to take, and we're likely going to continue through the end of the year. I'm not really interested in making any changes right now. People are used to the routines. I want to keep it that way and end the year on a high note as we start to get back to, as you've heard tonight, some in-person winter sports awards night, in-person proms, in-person graduation. We're talking about some in-person moving up ceremonies at the different schools. I think we're in a really good place, and I'm pleased, and I can't say thank you enough to everybody who's done all the hard work this year. So that's the reopening update. It's good news. And last one I'll end you with, in terms of vaccination rates, right now, 56.7% of the population in Portland has received the first dose. So more than half of the residents in town have received at least the first dose, compared to Connecticut, which is at 50%. And it's nice to be able to say that we have the highest vaccination percentage rate in the entire Chatham Health District. So way to go, Portland. That's great work. And I've got to say that is absolutely a testament to the work of Russ Melmond and the Chatham Health District, who have done exemplary work putting together the vaccine clinics, getting the word out, and making sure that we have access to the vaccine. So thank you to Russ and his team. They've done a great job, and we're in a really good place because of it. Okay, any questions there? All right, hearing none, I have one more piece of good news for you. I included in your packet tonight an award letter we received. Corey Toussaint and our CTE department went out and wrote a grant supporting financial literacy, and we have been awarded $14,658. Thank you to Corey and his team for putting that grant together and securing these funds for us. These funds will be used to acquire laptop computers with the touch screen for our teachers who teach finance. He actually sent me a little blurb to tell me what else it was about. So he wrote,
Wow.
It's Chromebooks that improve financial literacy. The Chromebooks will be using an inventory management system that the students will be learning about to calculate profit and loss, and actually doing some real applications of it with different sales and productions and things that are going to be happening in the buildings in person next year for sure. So congratulations, Corey. I thought that was a great thing, and every little bit helps for sure.
Yep.
That's a lot. $14,000 is great.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so that's all I have for you.
Great. That sounds like a really interesting program.
Yep.
Okay. Next is Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology.
Good
Hi,
evening,
Eric.
everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Yes.
All right, so I have just a few things to update. The first, I'd like to give an update on our curriculum and where we stand. So we recently had a 2-hour professional PD delayed opening for our teachers, and they use that time. They continue to use that time to plan for the end of the year, knowing that in this year, due to the pandemic, we've set a 2/3 priority around our curriculum. We established that at the beginning of the year. We anticipated covering about 2/3 of the typical curriculum that we cover in a given year. And that was based on the need to start the school year in a different place, given the way that the previous school year ended. And also with the understanding that there would be some disruptions to the learning and instructional processes due to our shifting instructional models. As we look ahead, we have an upcoming additional in our final 2-hour delayed opening professional development for teachers on May 19th. And they'll be using some of that time to prepare what we're calling curricular coverage reports. And so what those reports look like is a teacher in a given course or a set of teachers for a given grade level or subject area are going to prepare short reports that explain what is typical curricular content and skills that they did not cover at all this year. What are typical curricular content and skills that they somewhat covered this year? What do they anticipate for the students that they are sending up within that course or subject area to be skills that students will need some additional work with? And then what do they anticipate for those students would be skills that they would need extensive work with? And those reports will then go up to the receiving teacher or teachers who are to take in those students next year. And then we're going to attach those reports to some curricular planning time for our teachers in advance of next school year. So that'll help us to establish what we're calling these pre-unit 1 units within our curriculum at the beginning of next school year, as a way to kind of give kids those skills that they'll need and may not have gotten this year, or may not have gotten in full coverage this year, to be able to successfully access next year's curriculum. As Dr. Britton had mentioned, the state has done away with accountability for standardized testing, which is now underway across all of our schools. That the SAT testing has been completed at the high school. We're now underway with smarter, balanced, and next generation science testing in our elementary and middle schools. And although the accountability measures for these tests have passed, successfully through the state's waiver request system from the federal government, we're still very much looking forward to these test results to further inform where our students are at the, hopefully, I'll use this term loosely, the outset of the pandemic versus where they've been in typical years. And we want to look at those test results very closely, again, to inform instruction and curriculum moving forward. So let me just pause there. Any questions about the curriculum update or testing as it's happening in our buildings now?
I have a question, Eric. Individual assessments going to be forwarded to the teacher, or will it be by class? For instance, grade 3 to grade 4 or whatever. Will it be somewhat individualized, and how does it affect SPED kids, the special ed kids?
Are you talking about classroom level assessments or the state standardized assessments?
No, I'm talking about the classroom, the assessments that teachers are going to do
Yeah, so typical to every year, our teachers provide end of year reports in which our students who are in need of intervention services, or our students who are receiving special education services, those students get a kind of summarized package of information that travels with them to the next grade level.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll continue with that practice, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Britton had made mention of the CSDE's evidence-based practice guides. These are guides that have actually been out for a while. They began publishing them about 4 years ago to relatively little fanfare. They weren't very good documents in terms of the research that was offered within those guides. And the state has since spent considerable time bulking them up. And this is more a re-release of those guides. And I would second Dr. Britton that in looking in at them, they look really good. They certainly look much more robust than they have in the past. In short, basically what these guides do is offer evidence-based best practices in the areas of English language proficiency, on track for graduation, the number of seniors are graduating on time, and how you know that going all the way down as early as 9th grade. Reading, mathematics, climate and culture, early learning, science, equity-driven leadership, and student, family, and community engagement. And basically what these guides do are they publish evidence-based best practices and provide a rating system for schools to audit how effectively are we using those practices? Do we have strong evidence that we have those practices in use, moderate evidence, promising evidence, or evidence that demonstrates a rationale or an intent to use it, but it's not actualized yet? And we see these guides as being a critical resource that we'll use to guide our continuous improvement planning, both over the summer and as we head into next year. So certainly more work to be done with these, but they are a promising resource and one we'll be looking at extensively as we move ahead. The next thing I wanted to provide an update on is our tutoring program. At our previous meeting, Rebecca Tripp had presented on that tutoring program that she's voluntarily put together to the benefit of our students and families, where she's been doing incredible work since that meeting to expand our tutoring pool. I think at most recent count, we have 17 active tutoring partnerships. Many of those tutoring partnerships ran the full course of their month. These are month-long arrangements. And we had almost every family want to continue with the partnership beyond that first month. So I think that speaks to the quality of our student tutoring. the reliability with which our tutors are delivering these services, and again, just the meaningful relationships that our high school students are forming with our younger students, all in the name of academic success and community service. I'm so proud of this program. Rebecca, if she's listening, I don't know if she is, but so thankful for her work. And as we move towards the end of the year, we'll quickly be taking up in conversation, Dr. Britton and I, how we can make this program stick as something that has lasting impact in Portland, and maybe working with Rebecca to see how we can keep her on board as a volunteer, if not as someone we potentially stipend to do the work, because it's been that impactful. And then I just want to end with an equity update. You're going to hear from me later as we talk about our summer learning plans. But for now, a quick equity update. So we have our Equity and Inclusion Coalition meeting again on May 11th. That'll be our third meeting. And again, the work before us is really developing a definition of equity as we see it, as we understand it in Portland, and developing core beliefs around equity. That work is happening in draft form, and then it'll be pushed out to representative groups from across the district for feedback. And it's an exhaustive first step. It's been a ton of work, and it has to be, because this is the foundation of shared understanding upon which the work of equity and inclusion will go forward. So the work is really good. I'm excited to share it with the board in time. That time is coming. Our consultants tell us, they're constantly kind of ringing the bell of you go slow to go far. So we're being really strategic. We're being really deliberate with the work, but it's coming. And I want the board to know that we continue to be thankful for your support. We do have Chuck Hirschon, the middle school principal here, and I want to have Chuck unmute for a moment and share with us equity efforts that he's taken on at the middle school. And the work that he's taken on in the middle school is exemplary of the direction that we're ultimately going to go across our district. So we have this District Equity and Inclusion Coalition, and we see nested under or in partnership with that coalition, school-based equity leadership teams. And those equity leadership teams take on the suggestions and take on some of the work of the district coalition to bring about improvements in equity and inclusion within our buildings. Principal Hirschon came into this position with a lot of experience working with issues of equity and inclusion from his time in Granby, and he was chomping at the bit to get that work started in the middle school. So I'm excited to have him tell you about it, and in him telling you about it, to have you understand that this is similar to the direction that we'll be taking across our buildings beginning next year. If we could unmute Principal Hirschon.
Thank you so much, Eric. When I spoke with all of you back in July, around the time that that I was hired, I kind of expressed just how important, in any school improvement efforts, implementing an equity lens and keeping that constantly at the ready as we're going through any school improvement plan was going to be important in my first year. And in working with Eric and closely with Ms. Lawson and the other building principals, really kind of learn from them over the things that they've done in their buildings over the past few years, promote equity, and especially the secondary level and at the high school. During that time, we had met with CREC and our open choice partners, and they had shared that they had a number of resources that we could implement. And in my first month in the middle school, we developed, as one of our standing committees, we developed an equity task force, which is now just considered an equity committee because it's going to be continuing an ongoing committee for years to come. One of the things I really wanted to focus on this year was to take that team of around 7 teachers and staff members, because it includes not only teachers in special education, regular education at all grade levels. It also includes one of our building secretaries, and next year we'll be looking to add some parents as well. I invited Ms. Steinhauser to our last meeting, as I'd like to continue to get the view of the community as we grow as a team. But one of our goals this year has been to really build that equity lens with that core team in kind of a train the trainer model, because they'll be looking to expand that to the rest of the building as we go forward next year. Kind of following that mindset, as Eric just said, we go slow to go fast. I really wanted to intensely train these teachers in which case we brought in Gloria Manguel from CREC and the Open Choice Program, provide a number of professional learning opportunities, half-day experiences around implicit bias, around data-driven decision-making with an equity lens. One of the most impressive and transformative experiences she kind of walked us through was having critical conversations about race, and having that in a way that was compassionate and confident. So at our last faculty meeting 2 months ago, my equity team each shared their race stories. And as a bunch of educators who are white, it was really interesting to see how they took away the taboo of talking about race, to really build that comfort as a team. To the point that this past month, the entire faculty engaged in that same conversation, trying to make conversations about race a more typical conversation. So it's something we don't back away from, and it's something that we see as an area that every single one of us engages with throughout our lives. I've been really impressed by the work of the equity team that we've been training this year, and I look forward next year to expanding that work to the building-wide level to all staff members at Portland Middle School. Some of the last things we'll do over the course of the rest of the year, our goals were twofold for our equity team this year. One was simply to build that capacity with a couple of educators. The second is to assess our school. So over the last few months, we will be doing a couple of self-assessment tools to analyze our own areas in regards to equity, whether it's in our staffing, our assessment systems, our curriculum. We'll kind of be putting a microscope onto ourselves, take a look at in what ways do we promote equitable practices, and in what ways do we need to get better in promoting those equitable practices. But I really wanted to thank Eric and the support of the other building principals throughout the year, because that resource from CREC is something that is a shared resource for the district that the other principals graciously gave up and allowed me in my first year to take advantage of for my staff. But I really appreciate the collaboration I've had. And Eric is bringing us as a team with the District Equity Task Force through some really great learnings. And I really look forward to kind of having this pilot group continue to push forward as we continue that with our equity work.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Chuck. And then, along lines of the work that Chuck is doing, we're thankful for, his willingness to use his staff and to use his building as a pilot site for the formation of these school-based equity teams. Again, as a precursor to work that we look to do in each of our buildings. That's it for my update tonight. I'm happy to take any questions on anything I've presented. Again, you'll hear from me a little bit later as we talk about summer learning.
Anybody have questions?
All right, now.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next is new business. The Gildersleeve grant.
Exciting grant to present to tonight. Can we unmute Jessica Bruin, and Jessica will talk you through what is in the grant you're going to hopefully approve tonight.
Good evening. I think the video's trying to start, but it's not, so I apologize about that. I'm presenting on behalf of our Valley View Playground Committee, who supports in providing our students at Valley View with a safe and accessible play area. We are applying for the Gildersleeve grant in the amount of $72,000. This would include a fenced-in area with 2 playscapes. One playscape would be for our preschool students and one would be for older students. Currently, our preschool students use a small fenced-in area that is supplied by Head Start when they are outside. It does not include any play equipment. Our current playscape is on a hill. It does not have a fence and is not made for students under 5. making it unsafe and inaccessible for some of our students. So our goal is really to provide all Valley View students with a safe, age-appropriate, accessible play area by the end of the fall of 2021. This project would allow us to build an area that supports all students' physical development and health. The fence provides boundaries that some students need in order to stay safe. The equipment would be on a flat surface opposed to a hill, which would make it more accessible to all students. And we would finally have an age-appropriate play area for our youngest learners. We would also keep the current playscape, allowing for even more students to play outside at once in an area that is most appropriate for them. There's a lot of research out there about the benefits of exercise. And of course, adding this playscape would increase physical activity, help with motor skill development, improve strength and endurance, helps to build healthy bones, reduces stress and anxiety, increases balance and coordination, improves social and emotional well-being. I mean, I can go on, and I know many of you probably read articles supporting it. Quite frankly, it just allows kids time to be kids in a safe and fun way. We're looking at this as a 2-phase project. This would be phase 1, and we'll work with the committee on phase 2. Phase 2 would be including adding things like a sensory wall and swings for students with disabilities. This project includes space for those items to be added later. Do you have any questions?
Jessica,
I
I
have,
have
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about the fencing. Are you just talking about fencing in the new playscape areas that you're hoping to build, or is the fencing to go around to the current playscape?
So the fencing would just be around the new 2 playscape
area.
So the other area would remain unfenced.
Okay.
My question involves money. The $72,000, does that include phase 1 and phase 2?
No, that is only phase 1, and it would be the inclusion of the fence and the 2 playscapes.
Okay. And in the $72,000, is there any plan for maintenance? Maintenance of the new playscapes? That's always an issue down the road when things start to get loose or they break or crack or whatever.
It doesn't include the mulch, like if you need to add more mulch over time and things like that, that would need to be budgeted for, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Speaking of mulch, I'm just curious. I think I read in the application that something about engineered wood fiber surfacing, and that's not something I had heard of before. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little more about the surfacing.
So they don't recommend the rubber
no,
because it's not safe. So this is an alternative to that. And it's basically just a higher grade mulch. It is basically just a mulch. So in an ideal dream world, we would love to have the surface flat, like they do with the track. It is very expensive. It would be more expensive than the actual playscapes to actually put that down. But we did look into that. So this is the next alternative to that.
Got it. Thank you.
Jessica, I'm wondering where exactly these 2 playscapes are. Is the preschool one actually taking place of the little fenced in area that's already there? And then where is the second playscape going to be?
So that whole area, the actual fence would be opened up, and we'd be using that area for both playscapes, yes.
Oh, okay.
So the enclosure would include both playscapes, and we're looking at a way to kind of separate them still, but within a space.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm so happy to see this application. You did not overstate the need for this equipment at Valley View. As the parent of a former Valley View, current Valley View, soon to be Valley View student, I was so happy to see this application, and I think it's going to truly tremendously benefit our Valley View community.
Any other questions? Speechless?
Sharon, you're muted.
I was assuming everyone could hear my dog, so I muted myself. If there aren't any questions, thank you very much for your presentation and for doing the hard work associated with preparing the grant documentation. I think it's a great project. And I know the kids will enjoy it, that's for sure. I guess next up is the fourth quarter transfers.
Do we need to make?
Do we want to make a
We have a
motion?
motion on that.
Sorry.
I'm gonna recommend to the full board to approve the Valley View Playground Gildersleeve grant application presented tonight in the amount of $72,000.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would just, say this, similar sentiments. It's, great job on the application. It's well needed and it's a great use of Gildersleeve. And it looks like phase 2 gives us an opportunity to take another bite next year with the Gildersleeve grant, and that's great.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Wonderful. Thank you. Now we will move on to Ms. Fragola and our fourth quarter transfers.
Hi, everyone.
Aye.
Aye.
These are the usual transfers that we do every year as it gets closer to the end of the year and we see how we're doing. And this year I am happy to say that in both of the funds, I'd like to fund up to pretty much the maximum of what has been done over the last, well, not 2 years, but previously. I don't have a financial update for you this meeting, but next meeting I will have. I'm trying to really pull the numbers in together to get a really good end of year projection for everybody. It's looking pretty good right now. So I'd like to do the up to, but no more than $100,000 into the Fund 11 maintenance account. And in the school lunch fund, up to, but no more than 40,000. And that one's important that because of the situation with COVID and when students are out, when we weren't serving all the lunches, that program did hit hard, get hit hard pretty well. So I've been working with John White to try and find ways to kind of make up for some money if we can. But this transfer will help offset any of the loss that we have in there right now. We had a pretty healthy fund balance anyways. So we should be okay, but I don't want it to get too low. So I'm going to recommend that we do, because we only budgeted 40 this year for it. So I'm going to recommend do what we budgeted for. And it's the same for the Fund 11 transfer. I want to do the full amount that I budgeted. Does anybody have any questions on the accounts or the balance?
Stephanie, was there any reimbursement from the state for lunches and all the things that we did? Because we're basically providing every student with lunch.
So right now with the free meals, we do get reimbursed at the free meal rate. The only problem is we haven't had sales. Our sales is very low because people haven't been in school.
Right.
So we kind of make up for it in our reimbursement. There's still things circulating out there that maybe the federal government will come in with some kind of funding to help. Like right now we've gotten no direction, or we were given the direction not to use any of the ESSER funds right now, in hopes that they may have something down the line.
Okay, that was my question. Is there any federal funds coming? Okay, all right, thank you for that.
It's in the works, but I don't know if they're waiting for end of year to see how others, how all the school districts are doing, and see if they want to give some money for that. But as of right now, there is not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And we're still waiting on guidance if they will extend the free meals through the summertime. To hopefully try and do that again to help out. So again, John White is still waiting for guidance from the state on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that at all. I've been watching the legislation, so keep our fingers crossed.
Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion? Anybody like to make the motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to the full board to transfer up to $40,000 to the school lunch fund, Fund 5, for the, from the designated fiscal year 2020 to 2021 Board of Education appropriations.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll
second
second.
Is that Laurel?
I think it was Lauren.
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 Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. And is there a motion regarding the Fund 11 transfer?
Sure, I'll make the motion to the full board to transfer of up to, but no more than $100,000 to the Board of Education Maintenance Fund account, Fund 11, from available fiscal year 2020, 2021 Board of Education appropriations.
Second it.
Tim? Okay. Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, next is a Facilities Steering Committee update.
Stephanie, I'm glad you're still on, and if Carl can unmute himself, maybe he could chime in if there are any questions as needed. So we've had some really interesting, engaging discussions on our Facilities Steering Committee about how we move forward, how we know we have aging facilities, we know we have the sightlines report, and the work has begun. So at our last committee meeting, we had Kate Carter, who is the superintendent of the South Windsor Public Schools, present to us. And Kate has done amazing work in South Windsor in the area of facilities. Certainly, we have no plans to do anything as grandiose as she's done, but she really has set the standard and developed a process that I think we could use as we engage our community in a discussion about what we know are some aging facilities and some work that needs to be done. So following that meeting, Carl, Stephanie, and I met with Susan Bransfield, and you know what's really important through this process is that the town, the first selectwoman, the town council, and of course the Board of Ed, you know, that we're working together. You know, Kate was very, very clear when she said that, you know, if people aren't working together and if you're not doing this hand in glove and communication lines and channels aren't open, you're destined to fail. And that was her experience before she got to South Windsor when things weren't going well. And then her approach was to be very transparent and clear. So to that end, Stephanie and I met with Susan and just kind of briefed her about where we thought we were and what we thought might be the next steps. And Susan shared an idea with Stephanie, Carl, and I that I thought was terrific, and I wanted to bring to you tonight. And I did share this idea already with Meg and Dave in their capacity as members of the Building and Grounds Committee, so that they're aware of it and certainly express their support for it, but I can let them speak to that as well. So we think the next step would be for the Board of Education to request a joint Board of Education, Board of Select men meeting, right? And if we did that sometime in late May, what we would do at that meeting is share with the Board of Selectmen our facilities needs, kind of review where we are in the process, talk about the board goals that we've developed, and talk about the work of this facilities steering committee that we've begun. And this won't be news to the board. There are two members of the Board of Selectmen who are on that committee. At that committee, it is also recommended that we ask the Board of Selectmen for a resolution, right? Similar to the resolutions that were passed in 2000 and 2010. So in your board packet, I included those resolutions. They're sort of historical documents at this point. As you know, the resolution from 2000 led to the construction of the secondary complex. The resolution from 2010 didn't lead to any new buildings, but it did certainly engage the community in a study of the existing facilities. I think the time is about right now for us to engage the Board of Selectmen and ask for this resolution, which will sort of give some credentialing, which will sort of give the bona fide that we need as a facilities steering committee to really move forward throughout the fall, summer, and spring, and ultimately design a 5 to 10 year plan for the district that is going to propel us into the future and hopefully lead to some much needed upgrades, which we're well aware of in many of our schools. So with that, I'll stop and see if there are any questions, or Meg or Dave or Stephanie or Carl. Did I explain it clearly, or does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say that you have assembled in the facilities committee a wonderful group of individuals that come with lots of expert information. And while we were charged with our facility study and hopefully coming up with a plan to either renovate the schools to new and spend the 28 million or come up with a different plan, the last few months have been very engaging in finding out from other experts what we need to do. And it's not a simple it's not as simple as, well, we're going to renovate or we're going to come up with a different plan. And we've really come a long way. And I think this is the natural next step, is to come to the town to get their blessing so that we can proceed to acquire the data and the information that we're going to need to come up with a strategic plan for the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm all in favor of a joint meeting, and I look forward to sharing that with the Board of Selectmen.
Anybody else? I think it makes perfect sense. I think it's
does.
a great idea. Obviously, a project of this magnitude is going to require that everybody be on the same page. So I think it's a good idea to do this and have a joint meeting, discuss where things are with the facilities committee, and decide how to move forward. So I guess I can make a request to Ms. Bransfield's office to schedule a joint meeting at some point later this month. I don't know what night of the
We
week
have a
it would be
motion.
on.
Yeah, do we need to
Yeah, but
vote on
there's
a
a
motion for
motion,
that, or
Sharon.
do we
There's
really need a
Done.
motion, or can we just
I just
agree that we're going to do it?
Well, is everybody on board? Does everybody understand why this is the next most important step, to go to the town and ask for that resolution?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for sure.
So I
Yeah.
think a motion is in order.
All right, so I'll make a motion to recommend to the full board to request a joint meeting between the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen to discuss facility needs in the Portland Public Schools and discuss a resolution creating a study committee to investigate space needs for Portland Public Schools and outline procedures and responsibilities for the study committee.
I'll second that.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, motion passes. Building usage requests, Middletown Stage Company.
You're going to hear after I share this request from the Middletown Stage Company with you about some summer programs that we're developing in-house. We want this. I know the entire state wants this to be a very active and engaged summer for our students. So here in Portland, of course, the Parks and Rec camp will be running. The YMCA camp will be running. We will have a number of our own school-based programs running. And then this request came across my inbox, and I thought it was just perfectly timed. I was very excited to get it, and thought, hey, here's another opportunity to bring a camp, a fine and performing arts camp experience to our students. So I've had many conversations at this point with an individual named Ali Sinecrop. And Ali is the director for the Middletown Stage Company. And it works out well. She's run this camp, this theater camp in Middletown for 8 to 10 years or so now. And it just so happens that this year she can't because of some upgrades and renovations that are being done to the theater at Middletown High School. So she reached out to me to see if we would be willing to rent her the theater here at the high school. So we reviewed the policy. I've met with her, met with Linda and Carl, met with Chuck and the building administrators, spoke with all of the music and chorus teachers, band teacher here, and we think we're in a good place. We can do this. So what I've shared with you tonight is sort of a memorandum of agreement that kind of lays out what she has access to, the costs that she's going to need to encumber in order to bring the camp here, and just some other, I think, reasonable expectations. And then of course there are some requirements that fit in with board policy. So because this is not a Portland group, because this is an outside group, it does require board approval. So I support this. I bring it to you for your consideration and hope that you'll support having the Middletown Stage Company run a fine and performing arts camp here this summer.
I think it's great.
Me too.
Can I ask a question, Charles? A few months ago, you brought up the possibility that our district would offer some arts programming for secondary students in district. And I'm just wondering if, I think this sounds wonderful, and I'm just curious if this is going to prevent us from being able to offer arts programming at the high school for Portland students.
It's not. We have reached out to the music and art teachers, and anything that they do, this would not prevent or get in the way of that.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
And I'm assuming that the amounts that we're charging for the use covers any costs that we're going to incur beyond what's normal.
Right. We're gonna make a little profit on this.
Oh, we are. Oh, well, there you go.
Yep.
I know we have an upgrade on the sound system. Are we going to have that in place before the camp starts? Or
no,
when they need
no,
a sound
won't be done
system?
before.
Okay, just checking.
That would happen after.
Okay.
So
I'm happy to
we
make
just
the
have to be careful
motion.
about using cell phones.
If we need I'm happy to make the motion to recommend to the full board that we approve the building usage request from the Middletown Stage Company to use the secondary school auditorium for a summer theater program from June 21st to July 18th, 2021, in accordance with the signed memorandum of agreement and the board policy number 1330 application forms.
Second that.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay. And now we will move on to old business, Portland Public School Summer School Enrichment Programs.
So I'm very excited about this push. I'm going to turn this over to the building principals and Eric and let you share with them some amazing work that they are doing. So as you know, and as we anticipated, as a result of the pandemic, certainly our students are, it's not terrible. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we're looking at the data. It's not terrible, but our students are behind, right? We have realized some gaps with some of our students, and we need to be assertive about addressing that need. To that end, we know that the ESS ER2 funds and the American Rescue Plan funds are provided to us specifically to provide support and intervention services for our students. So we would like to be assertive about offering those intervention services and support to our students this summer. So we are going to present to you tonight our ideas for what amounts to 4 programs. One program is something that we're going to build on from the past 2 summers, which involve learning plans. And Eric Martin is going to talk to you about that program that we're designing and upgrading. Then I'm going to ask Jessica and Ryan to talk to you about a program that we have identified and are developing for our students in grades K through 4. Allison and Chuck are going to talk to you about a program that we're designing for students in grades 5 through 8. And then Kate's going to end by talking to you about an academic credit recovery program that she's designing for the high school. All of which, let me just start by saying this is an amazing leadership team. They have been very thoughtful, done the hard work of looking at the data, and I'm excited for what they're about to present to you tonight. So Eric, let me start with you, and then I'll let you kind of MC this.
Thank you. So effectively, if we see ourselves offering 2 types of programs, I'm here to talk about the universal program, or the program for all Portland students entering grades 1 through 12. And the reason we exclude excuse me, pre-K and K is those registrations take place over the summer. So we don't know yet even fully who our pre-K students will be or who our kindergarten students would be. And the notion of summer learning for those groups is problematic for a couple of reasons. But for all students entering grades 1 through 12 next year, so our current kindergarten through 11 students, we have a universal offering that I'll be describing in a moment, which is, as Dr. Britton said, a continuation or an extension of an offering that we've been running and expanding over the past couple of years. And then our principals are each going to present to you what we'll consider targeted programs that seek to enroll specific populations of students based on data that suggests those students need a little bit of acceleration, accelerated learning over the summer. So again, 2 types of programs, the universal and then the targeted. Our universal program is an asynchronous summer enrichment program for all students entering grades 1 through 12. Asynchronous meaning it happens outside of our school buildings via our one-to-one student devices. All of our students will go home with their Chromebooks this summer, obviously with the exception of our students that are graduating as seniors. We have 2 wonderful program leaders for this summer enrichment program, Alicia Millard, secondary library media specialist, and Corey Toussaint, who's our career and technical education curriculum specialist and teacher at the middle school. In addition, we also will be hiring approximately 15 teacher coordinators into this program, and many of them are we will be posting these positions, but we've already garnered a substantial amount of interest from teachers who served in this program last summer. So this program started 2 years ago, initially for students entering grades 5 through 8 with a math and English language arts enrichment focus. And it was almost single-handedly run by Corey Toussaint 2 years ago. And basically what he was doing was helping students navigate their summer learning assignments, posting some enrichment assignments for kids online, and then monitoring engagement and doing things like offering raffles to students for engagement to try to motivate them. Last year, prior to my time in Portland, so this was under Dr. Britton's direction, we expanded this program to all students, again, entering grades 1 through 12. And we expanded the enrichment to be all subject areas, all grade levels. So we hired 1 teacher coordinator at each grade level, and that teacher coordinator was posting asynchronous enrichment activities that focused on skill building in each of our core subject areas and unified arts, and then monitoring student progress. And again, we attempted to entice students by, if they met a certain number of challenges or completed a certain amount of activities, they were entered regularly into these weekly or bi-weekly prize raffles. The turnout and the participation in that program was exceptional for students entering grades 1 through 6. It started to drop off a little bit in 7, 8, and then really dropped off in 9 through 12. There's some good reasons for that. parental involvement tends to be a little bit higher in our elementary grades, or parents kind of forcing the issue of their students staying engaged. And then also we just know that as our kids get older, they're busy. A lot of them are doing sports or doing summer camps or even working over the summer. So our intent this year, as it stands now, is to run the program exactly as we ran it last year for students entering grades 1 through 6. We had a really good turnout. Our teachers have said it was awesome. Let's run it back the same exact way. The level of participation and engagement was great. We're looking at some different options for grades 7 through 12. 7 and 8 would be a little bit of a hybrid. So providing some students the way it looks now, again, some kind of assigned enrichment activities within their core content areas, but then also allowing some personal student choice and voice in terms of short passion projects or short themed weekly focuses where students get to do a little bit of research about a high interest topic and then produce some sort of measurable demonstration of learning at the outset of that themed week. I just want to go back to K6. Something that really works well in that K6 program is these weeks all have themes. So all of the activities will revolve around a common theme, like this is beach week, or this is safari week. And our teachers do a really good job planning creatively activities that align to the theme. Again, starts to fall a little bit off as the kids get a little bit older. So 7 and 8 would be a hybrid combination of similar type of enrichment and then some high interest enrichment activities that allow students the opportunities to explore and become familiar with some things that are of passion or high interest for students at that age. Secondary, we're very much at the design stage and soliciting ideas from teachers. And we've got a couple different ideas on the board that we'll be fleshing out over the next couple of weeks. So that may involve everything from teachers offering kind of week-long seminars on a topic or something that they have expertise in, maybe something like the history of music, history of rock and roll, or an art history themed week in which students would be doing research and argumentation and developing those kind of supersedent academic skills through these enrichment exercises. We're also exploring the idea of mini passion projects that students may complete over the summer, with the idea that if they were to complete these projects, it may be something that we're able to showcase during our in-person open houses in the fall, in our potentially in our middle and high schools, if we extend that to the middle school. So a lot of good ideas. We need to flesh it out a little bit further. We'll have those details in place for the next Board of Ed meeting, and be able to recruit teachers into these positions with the intent of expanding student engagement in grades 9 through 12, on top of what we saw last year. All of these programs are scheduled to run 6 weeks. They would start July 6th and they would run through August 13th. Again, they're asynchronous, so it doesn't require students to be logged on at a certain time of day or with a certain teacher. According to a certain teacher schedule. Our teachers make themselves available for certain support hours. They're available via email support as needed. And students are, again, able to take advantage of their student issued devices to access all of these programs. So that's our summer enrichment program as it stands. I have another meeting with Corey and Alicia this week and then another one next week. So the design process is continuing. We're anticipating being able to push out very specific details about this within the next 2 weeks. Any questions before we turn it over to our principals about our universal enrichment program?
No.
A quick one.
Sure.
How many teachers did you have last year versus this year? About the same or more?
It was 15 teachers last year. So we're
Keep it the
looking,
same.
yeah. So 1 teacher at each grade level, and then we had 2 unified arts coordinators for grades K through 8. And I do have to give a special plug to Alicia Millard and Corey Toussaint, because it's really their program. They're exceptionally talented educators and school leaders. And, I have all the faith in them that they're going to make this thing fly again this year. Without further ado, I'm going to next turn it over to Jessica Bruin and Ryan Wallstrom, who are going to tell you about our targeted summer learning program for students in Valley View and Gildersleeve.
I can't hear him.
I don't hear anything.
I'll start and then Ryan could dive in. Maybe he's having trouble with his mic. So this is Portland Public Schools K-4 Summer Literacy Program. This is something that Ryan and I had worked on to help the students that are not on grade level and falling behind because of the pandemic. If you can turn the slide. All right, so based on our winter data, we really saw a need to be able to work with the students and close the gap. You can see, especially in the early years, remote learning is not the easiest for our kiddos. So we really wanted to be able to provide them with an opportunity to close that gap. Now, this is winter data, so it is not going to look identical to what's coming up. We're currently assessing students now in May. I know that 51% is not going to be off level by the end of the year, but when we calculated it, this is where we were, and we did it just after the holidays. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So the program is really targeted on literacy intervention, and it will work with students from kindergarten through 4th grade. It follows the ESY programming, July 6th to July 29th, Monday through Thursday. So the schedule is identical to the other program that we have in district. Students must be available for 11 out of the 15 days to participate. In order for intervention to really work, you really do have to be present for it. So that's an important piece, and we don't want anyone to miss out. So if someone can't commit, we can move to the next person on the list. It will be in person. Our age group does work best in person. We're seeing more growth now that we have our students in person. It will be hosted at Gildersleeve School. There'll be 2 groups. One will come from 8:30 to 9:55 and group 2, 10:05 to 11:30. That will allow for smaller intervention groups. We'll have 24 students at each grade level and 12 students in each group. So even though there's 12 students, it will be on a small group basis. So they will be going to centers around the room, and the teacher will be working with a small group. Parents will provide transportation for the programming.
And on the phone, so he said he could do the next slide.
Yep.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So thank you, Jessica, for picking up there. So this is the second part of. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Is everyone getting that feedback as well?
Yeah. I'm hearing it.
Well, try now, Ryan. See if that fits.
Are you getting the feedback?
A little
Jessica,
bit.
I'm just going to have you go ahead and talk because there's a ton of feedback.
No problem. So we would have breakfast, snacks provided daily, bagged lunches available each day after the program. We would have Valley View teachers as well as Gildersleeve teachers and some paraprofessional support. We would be using LLI, which is a differentiated leveled literacy instruction program. And we really know where they've already left off. So it's easy to pick up. It's research-based. It really will help us with closing that gap. We'll be doing phonics and vocabulary work, continuing online Lexio work, which is our computer program that really goes by their level. And there is a set of criteria for eligibility. first of all, it needs to be students that aren't already attending ESY. Like I told you, it is the same exact timing of ESY. And students below the winter benchmarks on our Ames Web reading and digital literacy. Ryan and I will be contacting parents personally to invite them to the program. I mean, we're really excited about it as long as we have everyone's support here tonight. And so we do plan on contacting all parents and talking more about the program with them. I think there's one more slide, which is budget. So we do have a budget of $24,415.07 to be exact. There is a salary for a supervisor. There are some teacher salaries, paraprofessional salaries, the snacks, and some supplies, which gives us our total. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment, Jessica. I really am glad to see that you're looking for a commitment from parents to show up for more days than sometimes in the past has happened. I think that's very important for this to work. But this looks very impressive, and I'm glad to see that there's small groups. 12 kids, 12 students in a class for 2 hours will be just terrific.
What if you get more people that want to do this than you have space for? I know you said you limited it, but I'm wondering why we would limit it, because isn't the COVID money paying for all this, and we can almost pretty much do whatever we want?
So we do have specific criteria. And this is an intervention program that we developed for the summer. So there'll be other opportunities talked about tonight.
Okay.
This specifically is for intervention. So we wouldn't offer it to someone who's on grade level. It wouldn't fit their need. They wouldn't need LLI. So when we're looking at the criteria, and like I said, like you look at the scores right now, and it looks like half of my school is struggling. But the truth of the matter is, kindergartners are always at that point at the mid-year, and we do get them to where they need to be by the end of the year. So that list is going to be appropriate for the amount of people that we can actually take in. And with that being said, again, this is for intervention. So we wouldn't just want to invite anyone to this, which is why we do have several offerings of different programming.
Okay. Yeah, I was doing the fuzzy math off of the totals, figuring there may be more students than you have capacity, but you clarified that with the fact that you think many are going to be brought up to speed before the end of the year.
Yes, we're doing assessments now. And my first grade list is pretty much at, I think we have 25 kids on it now, where we had a lot more, winter, because we're looking at the data more closely. But we needed to look at it winter because we needed to get this started and planned, and we needed to see where our kids are at. And, and if we come close and we have a child that isn't quite where they need to be, and we think they would benefit from this, of course, we're going to make that decision and offer them the program. But having the criteria helps us know who, would be able to attend. You want the small groups. They won't make progress in the bigger groups. The LLI isn't designed for that. Intervention isn't designed for that. So the smaller groups are critical.
Jessica, when should families expect to be hearing from you and Ryan?
Right after we get approval. Right away.
Can I just ask, I guess I am curious also, that list of percentages of kids who were not at grade level back around the holidays, was that at grade level for the end of the school year or at grade level for where they should have been at that point in the year?
For where they should have been at that point of the year, yes.
So you're actually expecting kids to really make up quite a bit of ground between now?
Yes, because it's not far off from what it usually is, especially for kindergarten. And also for my scores, I don't know so much for Ryan, but my scores did not, that's the percentage of the Ames Web Plus. The literacy footprints, they actually did better in. So my percentage would be a little bit different if I just focused on that, but I used the Ames Web Plus for the data. And so, yeah, I do think that this will meet the needs of the students we need it to.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jessica and Ryan. Just also to note, we've had a much more consistent instructional model since the winter testing. We
Right,
and
and
in some of our instructional inconsistency prior to that.
And Eric, just to add to that, like through our survey process, you know, we're able to progress monitor and see where the kids are at. And yes, since they've been in person, they have been making a lot more growth. And that's why we felt it was so important to be in person. Because that's where the growth is happening.
Okay.
I really hope my dog doesn't bark. Can I ask one more question? I guess I am curious. We were talking about the instructional model being in person. Are you finding more kids that are slightly below where they should be in PVLA, or is it kind of even in between PVLA and the kids that have been in school primarily?
That's a good question. The data is pretty consistent between groups, and you know that speaks to the sentiment of our parents that the PVLA has been excellent and that those kids have had a very consistent experience, arguably in some ways more consistent than their in-person learners this year. And you know, in spirit of teacher appreciation, all of our teachers are doing an excellent job, you know, including our PVLA teachers at continuing high quality instruction. So we've not seen a significant difference in the data between our at-home learners and our in-person learners this year.
Great.
And there are students on that list that are PVLA students that will be invited if they're comfortable to come.
Excellent.
The other part, then they'll have the universal enrichment still available to them. And we have been really, really aggressive with our PVLA families when we see student performance declining of getting those students back in person, and we've been successful with that. You know, in most cases, our parents do realize that the risk versus the benefit, you know, that for some students they have to be in person, and our parents have helped us by bringing them back to in person despite the risks. All right, I next want to turn it over to Allison Hine and Chuck Hirschon, and they're going to present to you their program for students entering grades 5 through 8. So if we could unmute Allison Hine and Chuck Hirschon.
Great, and while our slideshow is coming up, this is Allison. Thank you all for hanging in with us. We are going to be presenting tonight about the program that we have for current 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. Many of the things that were shared in Ryan and Jessica's presentation are similar to what what we're doing in our program. So we're going to try and really focus on any of the differences that we have. So the first thing is that Chuck and I talked a lot about the toll that online learning and some of the other mitigation strategies have taken on the students' experience at school. So specifically cohorting, you know, we have kids who are used to mixing in different groups and doing some more socializing. And this year that has barely happened. So we've seen that that's taken a real toll on student engagement. So the program that we've designed does have still a math and ELA focus, and that's how students, qualify for the program. And so the focus will be on closing the skill gaps, also prioritizing those specific content strands that kids need in order to be successful with the first unit of ELA and of math as they hit the fall. And then another priority for us is focusing on some really high interest, project-based, authentic kind of learning opportunities. And we talked about doing those in areas like coding, STEAM, looking at some different really fun projects that would hold the students' interest. We know that attendance has been an issue for a lot of our students, and we want to get them back and loving learning. So that's another real goal of our program. And I'll turn it over to Chuck for the rest of it.
And can you move the slide forward two slides. So the next slide is our goals that Allison just went through. And you can see those in front for a second. And then go one slide forward. So we also kind of looked at a lot of different sources of data for identifying our students' need. Like Allison, or not, sorry, like Jessica and Ryan, we had our Ames web data that we utilized for both math and reading, using at Brownstone, using the Fontes Pinnell leveling system for reading. At the middle school, we've been using the interim assessment blocks for both math and reading. And based off of the feedback loops of our SBA testing, we'll be attempting to use any data that we can garner from that as well. That always depends on how quickly that data expedites. Every year it seems to come faster, but this year may be a little different given what the state will have to go through in separating data from kids that did virtually versus in person. Right now, our percentages, as you can see there, are about 20 rounds, between 38 and 20% of our students identify with those, but that data can change as we also implement our Ames web data in the spring, our Ames web assessments. Really, the other piece that we've been using is attendance data. This year, unlike any other, has had a significant amount of disengagement and difficulty to have students in attendance in our schools, either because of their choice or because of quarantine requirements, especially earlier in the year before we were more up and running seamlessly with, we've kind of gotten to a nice sweet spot lately that when a kid has to go out, we're able to get them facilitating their learning online at the same time. That was a little more challenging earlier in the year when we were in our hybrid models. But we really want to focus on those students that in a typical year, that attendance data would be really alarming. And we want to address those needs, especially because the goal of this is to have students back in person with one another, doing more highly engaging activities. Allison spoke about that math and reading being a good portion of the program, but that we want the second half of that program. It's additionally a 3-hour program daily. That second half of the day to be very quest-driven, enrichment-driven, high areas of interest, which you'll see in our next slide when we look at budget. We do have a higher instructional supply budget because we want our teachers to be able to be very creative with the opportunities that they're able to provide for students around that enrichment. So whether that is coding or bird watching or science experiments, those hands-on learning opportunities that students have been deprived so much over the past year, we want them to be able to have that opportunity this summer, especially for this targeted population of students who has been more disengaged or less successful during where that gap has increased due to COVID. We have a summer program supervisor in this program. Now, this is not just, the program will be housed at the secondary complex. This is not just a supervisor for this program, but in addition would be a supervisor for all of the summer programs occurring at the secondary complex. That includes ESY and what Kate will speak to next, which is the credit recovery program. So that supervisor will kind of support any of the day-to-day management of what might come up in the programs. Additionally, you'll see we have a grade level teacher for each of our identified grades, as well as a paraprofessional to support that grade level teacher and the planning that will go into developing the program. Along with snacks, if you feed them, they will come. We will certainly budget for that, as well as that little bit higher level of instructional supplies, again, to allow for that teacher creativity in developing those really exciting enrichment opportunities for kids. And with that, I think that is the end of the 5 through 8 summer program presentation.
Can you talk a little bit about project-based learning in terms of social and emotional connections that kids can make in those, you said bird watching or whatever, but can you talk a little bit about project-based learning?
Yeah, so we want to.
Is like, right, sorry, Chuck.
No, go ahead.
So right now at Brownstone, the kids have a win block, which we were kind of modeling it after. So during that time, kids can pick a variety of different activities, and they've actually gotten really good at collaborating across cohorts. So they use, things like Google Slides, like you just saw Chuck and I collaborated to make this presentation. And they can self-select different projects. So right now we have some groups who are working on the stock market. I don't know if you guys remember last year they were second place in the state, I think, and they came and presented to you all. Those kids are highly motivated by that. I have a group, actually, Lauren's daughter is in that group, and they're working on a garden that's outside, and they've learned all about pollinators, and they've taken it in directions that I never would have thought. So I think giving the kids that opportunity to authentically work together and to take things in any direction that they choose is our goal, because that's the stuff that they talk about and the stuff that they get really excited about. So we want to be able to build on.
Thanks. And that's the stuff they need. Yeah.
Yeah, and unlike and as Allison talked about, it's kind of that cross-grade collaboration that they really haven't had the opportunity to do, and seeing different kids. Some of our students are getting really tired of seeing the same faces every day, and they want to be able to see different groups of kids. But one thing we really strategically want to ensure is that while they may be doing some intervention work with students that are like at the same grade, those more curricular, more enrichment activities that they can do, similar to what Allison's talking about with her wind block, would be something they could do across grade levels. So teachers of our program would have the requirement of supporting students with their math and reading in the first half of the day. Second half, they would see a different group of students taking advantage of some of the restrictions coming off of, with the fact that we can use outdoor space and more flexibly using space around our buildings, allowing kids to really take advantage of some interdisciplinary learning. And with students of multiple grade levels really benefiting from that social emotional learning piece of collaborating with different students that they may not know, they may not see every day. We really think that social emotional benefit. One of the things we talked about right away is Allison had no desire to plan anything. I think there's going to be a great online enrichment opportunity for all students virtually. We absolutely wanted to be only focusing on how can we keep kids in person and benefit off of the in-person learning opportunities that really we know kids will more highly engage with.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Allison and Chuck. So finally, we're going to have Kate Lawson unmute and speak about our high school credit recovery. So when we talk about a targeted population at the high school, the tenor shifts a little bit to the idea of credit recovery and keeping students on track for graduation. And we're anticipating slightly higher numbers of students needing credit recovery this year against some different realities for how we offer credit recovery with our typical arrangement with Middletown Public Schools. Sorry, just realized I still have my video off. So if we can unmute Kate Lawson, she's going to take it away with our high school credit recovery summer learning program.
Good evening.
Hi, Kate.
It is with a heavier heart that I present my summer credit recovery program. I have to be candid with the board. What we know about high school graduation is that grade 9 is a critical predictor of success, and students that are likely to graduate in 4 years have the most success as they move forward post-secondary. After a student's class leaves Portland High School, the likelihood of re-engaging them in a meaningful way and completing a traditional Portland High School diploma, although not impossible, becomes significantly more difficult. What I'm going to share with you tonight is some strategic planning on the part of the high school to target our most at-risk students. And in a nutshell, it would be getting our rising seniors for the class of 2021 in a reasonable range for graduation. And it would be remediating our students who are struggling in core content area that's necessary for graduation, 3 or 4 credits in a discipline, to make sure they stay on track. What is incredibly important for me to have the board understand is that there's not one staff member at Portland High School who takes these failures lightly. These faculty have extended themselves, have reframed, have redone, have reignited, and truly the adolescent mind has had a hard time engaging during COVID. There's so much more to high school for teenagers than the classroom. And so much of that we've lost under kind of what I call the cloud of COVID. Lila, if you can switch us to the next slide, please. So our goal is an in-person learning experience for students who were not successful due to pandemic-related interruptions and access challenges. It's also important to note that many of our students, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, were called upon to offer extraordinary support at home as parents went to work and younger siblings needed a lot of care. And I think at sometimes some of their educational priorities were shifted. Course failures at PHS, multiple course failures, are traditionally very rare. We probably have about 10% of our students who over the course of 4 years have failed a course, but the hardcore number of students with chronic failures is very low. Our increased course failures this year are certainly due to lack of online engagement. I concur with Mr. Hirschon and Mrs. Hein. If we weren't able to do this in person, it would not be the best effort of the board's money to fund, because that's the critical piece, is getting the kids to school. Long periods of absence for a variety of reasons. I'm actually seeing some absences spike now as many of our juniors and seniors are getting vaccinated, which is a good reason to have some absences, but they're also missing school. And like I referenced before, this cloud of COVID, that the things that are so much part of the fabric of PHS, the musical, athletics, the social, the connections, the camaraderie, the collaboration in the classroom, have really largely been omitted this year. I will tell you the news is good. The second semester is looking to be much more successful, following in line with the district. Okay, Lila. So what you're looking at here is a very rough estimate of students that we anticipate needing to remediate specific core courses. We initially planned 8 courses, 2 per academic discipline, with a combined English 9-10 and a combined English 11-12. Strategically, geometry and algebra 2. We do have some students who are failing algebra 1, and it is the feeling of the faculty that algebra 1 provides such tremendous foundational skills for geometry and algebra 2 and all of the mathematics moving forward, that course, failed by mostly freshmen, should be repeated in its entirety next year. There's plenty of time to recoup that when we're talking about 9th graders. Our social studies courses, global studies and civics, the number with civics thankfully looks pretty low, but that's a graduation requirement, and it's a requirement of 11th graders. So that even with a smaller group is a priority for me, because that's setting kids up for success for senior year. Physical science and biology as well are best done in person with the lab experience. And a course that we initially did not consider offering is US history, because it's the 10th grade course. It kind of lives between civics and global studies, but we're seeing a need. So that may be something that we explore. Part of the structure of this program, because it follows the district structure, is it's 19 school days, and it's 3 hours a day. And students are expected to complete about an hour's worth of independent work each day. Attendance is mandatory. And I would love to get to the point where I can come to the board and stop talking about credit hours. And we will get there. We will get to mastery-based diplomas and learning, I promise you, during my tenure. But we need to make sure that this is a meaningful credit. And that is the message that I have given the faculty. These students that have failed these courses this year have not been due to lack of effort on the part of the adults, or quite frankly, in many cases, lack of effort, but rather circumstance on part of the kids. But a Portland High School diploma is earned. And we need to make sure that our students are demonstrating mastery of reading, writing, mathematics, problem solving, critical thinking, all the things that we value. So my last slide is the budget. I realized after listening to my elementary colleagues, I probably should throw in some snacks. So we'll work on that. But I'm looking at 8 teachers to teach 8 courses. And our challenge will be really working with parents to partner with us to make this a requirement for their kids this summer. And really set them up for success in the fall. What can I answer questions? This is a hard topic at the high school.
is what's the consequences if they don't complete the requirement to show up every day for the 19 days?
Well, we would have to look at it on a case by case basis and look at the why, as always. But the reality is, I have to make sure they know geometry, and we have to make sure they are meeting the standards of American literature. And those are, you know, in all the cases that we have had this year, and especially with our seniors who are in danger of not graduating this year and next year. Although this problem was not helped by COVID, it was not exclusively caused by COVID either.
Right.
These are struggling learners.
Right. Are there alternative programs if they don't come to this program? Can they go to Middletown High, or can they get a private tutor? Are there alternatives that maybe a kid can't get to school every day because he's still got younger siblings and he can study at night? So are there
Right. We will
alternatives?
definitely be providing transportation, so that should help some access problems. In the past, our students have gone to Middletown High School for their summer credit recovery program. Last summer, they did not, because of the pandemic, did not allow outside students to participate. What I would counsel students to do, we do have, and the board revised the policy about a year ago, a virtual learning policy. And looking at an online course or looking at a community college course to transfer in for external credit.
Okay.
I would caution the board, however, the very reason these students were not successful was due to the online nature of their learning.
Right.
So in person is best. I would never say no to somebody who wanted to try it, but it would need a thoughtful conversation because that's really the challenge. When these kids are here and they're connected and they're working and they're supported, they do beautifully. These are talented kids. But the obstacles have really been daunting.
And obviously this is course credit, so they're going to do 3 hours. Are there any plans to do any socializing or any kind of fun things after the 3 hours is over during the, you know, maybe for another hour after, or is it just come to school, hit the books and go home?
Structurally, it would be come to school, hit the books and go home. I would be very open to kids who are connected already and are friends if they wanted to stay and shoot hoops in the basketball court, if they wanted to, you know, use this opportunity to reconnect. Realistically, summer school for adolescents is not a fun experience.
No. Got it.
No.
Thank you.
Kate, the budget that you just showed us indicated 8 teachers, but am I correct? I thought I counted 9 courses, including that second history course that you
did. And so a couple of pieces. I initially budgeted for 8 and was not going to offer a third social studies course. And then I saw the impending failure rates.
Got it.
Social studies courses, global studies, and US history are semester courses. So one of the things that Mr. Martin and I can explore is looking at a blended opportunity. Or I have to also look at the very realistic possibility that I might not get 4 juniors who are willing to come in and take civics. Now, if everybody wants to come, you know me, I have no shame. I'll be right back saying, I need one more.
Good.
But before I ask for that, I need to see how some of these courses are going to fill.
Okay. And I have another question. This isn't specific to you, but you mentioned that your program will provide transportation for the high school students. Am I remembering correctly that the Valley View Gildersleeve program was not going to provide transportation? And can I just ask for an explanation from somebody about what the story is there?
So where our programs for our older students, that not including Valley View and Gildersleeve, run on the same schedule as our extended school year program, which is 8:30 to 11:30. So we already have bus transportation running for extended school year that we would just kind of, you know, attach these programs to. The Gildersleeve and Valley View program is shorter in duration. It's just those 2 individual, I believe they were 90-minute or 80-minute sessions.
Right.
And so it would be much more difficult to run a third intermediary bus route to support that program.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
You know, if we do have families that transportation to that program becomes a prohibitive factor as we're looking to enroll students, we'll likely come back to the drawing board and figure out how we can make transportation work.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So on the issue of transportation, Eric, because the buses are already running, there's no cost included in the budgets to cover that?
That's correct.
Okay.
We still need to, I believe, bring that forward to our bus company and make sure that we can accommodate as many students as we're enrolling in these programs with the existing buses. In the event that we do need to add additional bus runs, you know, we'd be coming back to the board with that information and potentially drawing more money out of the federal funds to accomplish that.
Eric,
And then sorry, Dave, just to clarify, for Kate's program, students would be allowed a maximum of 1 recovered credit within her program. So the 19 days at 3 hours is enough to take 1 class. So if we have students who are failing multiple classes, it's not going to completely solve the crisis, but it's going to get them closer to being back on track.
And the part that I didn't add, and I can't speak to it for the younger grades, in my conversation with Open Choice, Open Choice is offering a parallel program that will award credit, and we will accept those credits should a child participate in Hartford. They're also welcome to come to Portland to complete their credits. I don't anticipate there being a huge amount of interest in that, but if there is, Open Choice is providing transportation and it will be available.
Dave, go ahead. You had a question?
Just a quick question. I don't know if you mentioned it, I missed it, but the other 3 gave a cost for the program. What was the universal cost?
The overall
cost? I think he was talking about my program, Kate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have a budget right now of $27,000, and that is roughly the same amount of money that we spent last year. So that covers our 15 teachers and our 2 program leaders.
Okay. Yeah, this is probably maybe for Charles, but you know, this totals roughly 100. But I thought we budgeted a lot more for summer school based on reimbursement from the COVID.
It was for 2 years.
Oh, for 2 years.
It was for this summer and next.
2 year.
Oh, okay.
And
Right. So I was about to say,
I guess it sounded like we had a lot more money to spend. Maybe we need to spend more.
yeah, I was gonna point out that all of this that I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on. All of this that you heard about tonight, Stephanie and I put this into the ESSER2 grant application. We haven't even touched any of the 939,000 that we're getting that we believe we're getting as part of the American Rescue Plan. So Stephanie and I are watching our email anxiously every day, waiting to get those final numbers on the American Rescue Plan dollars. And then, of course, we're going to have to go through a similar process that we went through with ESSER2 to fill out the application. So what you're hearing about tonight is really the first step. We're going to be looking to build on and support all of our students throughout the school year next year and next summer. So what you're hearing about tonight is our very first bite at the apple of supporting our students who have endured the pandemic, and you've seen some of the numbers tonight. You're looking at a leadership team who is absolutely committed and has no problem coming to me and asking me for positions and funding when needed, that we're going to be applying these funds that we get through the American Rescue Plan to make sure that all of our students are where they need to be. And frankly, that's what the funds are for.
And in all of these programs, we're really starting with our most vulnerable learners. And so that, just to be clear, we're bringing forward this proposal to the board so that hopefully you can greenlight it for your approval if you are compelled to do so, which will then allow us to post the positions, to fill them with staff, to then begin the process of enrolling students. So it's kind of a chain reaction that starts with the board's hopeful approval tonight, so that again, we can begin the staffing. And just Dave, to your point, our strong preference remains to hire Portland Public School educators into these positions and not post externally. And that said, I think we have to be realistic. We, especially this week, appreciate our teachers. Many of them rightfully want and deserve a summer completely off. And so we can expand the programming, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have the interest of individuals wanting to work these positions over the summer, where we've done some kind of preliminary fishing in the district to see who's available and wanting to work this summer, and developed these programs accordingly with those numbers in mind. So it's one of the, there's a lot of puzzle pieces. The amount of staff available to teach within these programs has informed our design and structures of these programs as we presented them tonight.
So just to talk about the numbers a little bit more, in terms of that universal program, that's similar to what we would offer and have offered in normal years. Is that right?
That is correct.
So
Well, we've offered it. Last year was the first real year that we did it universally. It was much more limited the year before, and we're making some design tweaks to that program this year again at our secondary level.
So some of those funds we've already budgeted for in our regular.
Yeah, last year, just a reminder, the summer program ran, the universal program last summer, we funded that with the CARES Act money. So that the first summer program that we did 2 years ago, which was limited to the students in grades 5 through 8, that was funded out of the LEA budget.
Right.
Last year's more robust was funded out of the CARES Act relief that we received. And again, this summer is funded out of ESS ER2. And I'm imagining that next summer and even the summer after next would come from American Rescue Plan funds.
Right. Just to clarify, most kids would go to summer camps and would not participate in any kind of a school program. The extended school year program was designed for kids who need that extra year. So this is kind of a new way to approach things, and it's open to everybody, for all the obvious reasons.
Correct. And to that point, Meg, the state has recently released some very competitive grant programs for summer camps and summer recreational programs. So we're really hopeful in Portland that, the town takes advantage of some of those grant programs and expands access to Portland kids.
I
through
think I
typical
sent
summer
you
camps and
something.
recreation.
I did. I sent you something, and it's where it's not applicable to schools, but I did send it to some people that could possibly utilize those funds and find other appropriate activities for kids after they attend the universal summer school programs and other programs that we're doing.
And I will tell you, Meg, it is very common practice at the high school for students that are involved with the ESY program traditionally in the summer to then segue to Parks and Rec camp for the afternoon.
Right. That's right. That's correct. This is exciting. I will make a motion if you want to fully support this. I'd recommend to the full board that we fully support the Portland Public Schools summer school enrichment programs as presented, with a possibility of updates and requests for more money going forward.
Yeah, I'll second.
Lauren, you guys have done an amazing job.
Absolutely.
Yep. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for all your hard work. I know it's just the beginning, but we really do appreciate it. And I know the kids will too.
Thank you for your support on behalf of all the administrators.
Okay. Committee reports.
Nothing to report from curriculum.
Policy.
Policy, Charles and I talked about getting a meeting together. We still have a couple of things open about Zoom meetings. I'm sure vaccinations and religious exemption things will be coming up. So we have a lot to talk about, but no meeting on the board for the board right now.
Okay, personnel is kind of in the same boat. We're going to be meeting towards the end of the month to continue our discussions about contracts. So probably early June meeting, we'll have something to report. Buildings and grounds, I think we heard some
We
things
have
already.
we have a meeting though coming up on May 21st. May 20th. I'm sorry. There was a building and grounds meeting on May 20th.
Okay. Conservation and Renewable Task Force,
No report.
Craig.
Their annual meeting is on May 21st, and that will be the last meeting of the year, and then we'll start again in September. No news, nothing of import to report.
Selectmen,
Nothing significant, last meeting.
Task Force on Solidarity.
There was a forum for youth that was held on this past Sunday. That a small group of students from the school system came to and spoke. It was really impressive that folks were able to, really discuss some important issues and some sensitive issues in a nice format. They felt though that they didn't get enough exposure for the group, and I know I talked to Eric about it. He said that and they acknowledged that notices have gone out through the newsletters in the different grades. But the comment that was made to me was, well, did it get put out through announcements in the school, like when they do the announcements in the morning or something more open like that, or was it just the newsletter? And I think Eric had replied to that Kate had done something at the high school with that to get the word out to students. So I think they're talking about possibly doing it again. And trying cast a wider net to get more participation. And then the next meeting is May 11th, and that's the one I cannot attend. And I don't recall who. I think there was talk about Lauren or Laurel.
Right. We hadn't decided. What time was the meeting? Can you remind me?
Well, the problem is that it's the same time as our task group, the coalition with Eric. So if I can't make it, then I'd hate to see you have to leave that.
You can't make
it. To make it right, that wouldn't make any sense. I think that's why in my head I was thinking somebody else, but
I thought they were one after the other. They're at the exact same time.
Well, they overlap significantly.
Okay.
The Solidarity Task Force starts at 6:30. It looks like. No, 6. The Solidarity is like 6 to 7, and the other
we go
group
4 to 7.
is to 7.
Okay.
So there'd be that hour, and then I have another commitment after that as well. So I don't.
Okay. So I know Laurel, you expressed some interest in.
I can go. Yeah.
Just want to see if there was anyone else who might be interested. Okay. You're it, Laurel.
You said it's at,
thank you.
You said it's at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Tim, do you know, will it be overlapping meetings every month, or is this just
No, I looked ahead on the schedule for the coalition and them, and this is the only one in the near future. It's happenstance. It's just the way it hits, because these are just once a month, and then their meetings are, I think, twice. I'm not even sure now if they meet twice a month or once a month, but it's not all the time now.
Gotcha.
Okay. Equity and Inclusion Coalition.
We meet again next week. I don't think there's been nothing new since our last Board of Ed meeting.
Well, the newsletter they put out, Eric sent the old one and then sent us the new one.
You can compare and
contrast. What's that?
You can compare and contrast.
I know, yeah, I never would have known it was the old one unless he had fessed it up. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's got some links. I don't know, does that go to everybody or just to the folks that are in the task group?
I thought it went to the entire district last time.
I think, does it, Eric?
I think it goes to the teachers.
It goes to yeah. Yeah, it was good. It had some nice activities and nice links on it and stuff. I think it's a good thing.
Yep. So does it go to everybody, Eric?
He's muted.
I think he's
yes, to everybody.
See if I got it in my regular email.
Yes.
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you, Eric.
It's been teachers and so far it's been things to try in the classroom, things to do with students, things about teaching practice. But it's
Yeah,
always
talk
be that
about
way.
the assessments and how.
Great.
Yeah, but it does go to Everett. And sorry about the trying to mess up on that.
No worries.
I usually just to forget the attachment. That's my MO.
Okay. Anyone like to address the board, audience of citizens?
There is no one for audience of citizens.
Okay. Board of Education member comments.
I have two things. I sent out an email after I attended a webinar the other day. There's a diversity survey that CABE is asking board members to fill out. If you haven't done so, it takes about 10 minutes to just answer some questions, but they're trying to plan future webinars and activities, and they want to know what the needs of board members and districts are. So if you could take a minute to do that, that would be great. The other thing that they mentioned was that Harvard University has an anti-bias survey that you can take, that after you do it, you get the results, and it kind of just tests your, you can test yourself to see it's personal. It's not part of information that's being gathered, but you can test to see just where you kind of stand if you are learning anything and moving forward in that direction. So that's you just go to Harvard University and look for that study called anti-racism survey. The other thing is this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and it seems like it should be all year at this point, but I just want to reach out to everybody in the Portland School District, teachers and all the staff. Everybody teaches every day. We're all role models for our students. And I just want to say I am forever grateful for this year and the work that's been done and the work that needs to be done. And you guys are just amazing people. So thank you. Thank you.
I second that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Can I just give a reminder too that next Monday is the budget referendum, so
yes.
Folks can help spread the word and remind folks to get out and support the town budget, the Board of Education budget next Monday at the Portland Middle School from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can get absentee ballots at Town Hall anytime before this Friday at noon, and just submit them right in the ballot box behind Town Hall.
Perfect.
And I just had maybe something for next meeting to talk about. Just where are we with the high school, middle school track? And just, 'cause I know we talked about the maybe some grant money or some bonding money, and I just wasn't sure if there was anything at this point, is it being used or not used, that sort of thing.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll give you an update.
I would like to absolutely address Teacher Appreciation Week. I actually was speaking with a friend of mine who has her children in a magnet school and is considering coming back to Portland. Just today, I was telling her how phenomenal all of our teachers are and what a difference Portland teachers have made in the lives of my children. So thank you so much, teachers. And thank you to the administration today, who this whole meeting was full of amazing presentations of things that you're all planning for our students. And I'm very grateful for all of the work that all of you are doing. I mean, from the equity conversations at the middle school, the summer school, the playground, it was just one thing after another that our admin is doing, moving in our district in a positive direction. So thank you very much. And then the last thing, I'm just curious if there's any discussion of us being in person for meetings anytime in the near future.
Right.
I
Well,
would
the
love to not have
executive-
my dogs barking in meetings. So
The executive order ends on May 19th, and we'll know if that the Zoom part of it is continued or not. If not, then we probably will go back to in person.
it's exciting.
And our next meeting is the 18th. From what I understand, the restrictions lift on the 19th. So the
Yeah.
18th may well be our last Zoom meeting, but more to come on that.
I just want to pass on also to the administrators to, pass along my thanks to the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Day, which I think is today. And also to Justin and the student council in particular at PHS. They do all kinds of great stuff to support teachers in town. So so just my thanks and appreciation. This has been an incredibly difficult year for teachers, so we appreciate everything they've done.
Any other comments? Okay. I don't believe we have an executive session this evening. Am I correct, Charles? No? All right, so we can cross that off. And we'll take no action since we didn't have one. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Tim? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good night, all.
Good night.